Hello and welcome to Backyard Food Guide. One of our successes last year was this strawberry bed. This was a 10 by 12 foot bed that we had essentially filled with two different kinds of strawberries, and we managed to yield 24 pounds of strawberries out of it last year, which we were really happy with. However, on reflection, in the second year, we have decided to make some changes that I think are tips that would be helpful and would allow us to produce even more for this year. So over winter, we didn't really do a lot with the strawberry plants, and they managed to survive well in this climate. We are in the Pacific Northwest, and with the bed the way that it was last year, some of the difficulties we found was that we couldn't get to the center of the bed. So therefore, we weren't able to weed, and we weren't even able to harvest some of the strawberries that were hiding in the middle under the large leaves. So what we've decided this year to do was to dig out two pathways, essentially trenches. And the advantage of the trenches would be that it allows the strawberries to be a little bit higher up, giving the soil even better drainage. One of the challenges for this wonderful yard that we have is that the soil is relatively heavy. We do try to loosen it up by providing more mulch and compost as well, but the tendency is that it is quite heavy. Luckily, the strawberries here are quite hardy and manage to do well, but I'm recommending that if you are starting fresh with a strawberry bed, it would be a good idea to have fairly loose soil that drains very well. The preference for strawberries is also that the soil be a little bit acidic. So the idea here is approximately 5.8 pH to 6.2 would be the recommendation. Again, I don't check the acidity of the soil very often. Our strawberries do quite well, so it's not really necessary. What we have this year with the trenches now would mean that we have 3 rows of about 2.5 feet to 12 feet long. That gives us access to every part of the bed, which means that we can weed these awful grasses that come up and also be able to harvest the strawberries that come up. In our bed, we have put in both types of strawberries. We have lots of different varieties that are there, but the two main kinds would be the June bearing berries. They tend to come up relatively early in the year, in most places June, and that's been the case for us. However, in warmer southern climates, you're going to find that the June bearing or short day berries will be producing 3 to 4 weeks at a time, even earlier on. So in warmer climates, even as early as March to April, you could be getting strawberries. So in terms of this variety, it produces very well for 3 to 4 weeks, and then it slows down. The advantage is that you're getting a lot of production early on and relatively big berries as well. The second variety would be the ever-bearing, and as the name suggests, it continues to produce throughout the summer. The berries tend to be a little bit smaller, but of course the trade-off is you're getting strawberries throughout the summer. So the berries in this bed are relatively well mixed in, so we're not really sure what we're going to get until they come up and for which time period. And that doesn't really matter. They tend to do well under these conditions. Strawberries taste amazing, and what we've chosen to do is a close planting method. So there are some recommendations to give each strawberry plant about 2 feet of space and rows that are relatively spaced out as well, 1 by 2. What we've done is actually in each square foot put in approximately 4 to 5 plants. That still gives us the space to weed, and we find that the strawberries are getting enough sunlight and nutrients under this condition. It is relatively close, but it seems to be fine and works well for us, regardless of the actual recommendations on seed packets, for example. It does require that you water really well. Strawberries do like it to be fairly moist, especially at the height of summer. One thing that I would recommend is that if you're finding runners to be shooting out relatively early in the season, it would be to pinch off the runners. You want the plants to spend its energy on producing fruit rather than to be producing new plants. So probably after mid to end of July, we'll let the runners go and to produce new plants for the next season. But early on, it would be best just to pinch them off so that the plants can focus its energies on producing the fruit. In the first year of planting, there are some recommendations to let the plants establish, so perhaps even to pinch off flowers. We didn't do that last year. Now, some of our plants were actually even on second and third years, so that means that we didn't do that. However, some people, if you're purchasing bare root plants, there is a recommendation to kind of hold off and let the plants establish in that first year. So it's up to you. Maybe take some fruit but pinch off some flowers depending on how well the plants are doing. Strawberry beds tend to do better in the second or third year as well. So you may find that the first year you won't get as much fruit. Over the winter, one recommendation is to, depending on your climate, to prepare the bed for the winter. To be honest, we didn't do a great deal with the bed and it seemed to be fine in our weather, but if you're in a colder climate condition, one thing to do to protect the plants over the winter is to put a layer of 4 to 6 inches of straw on top of the plants and then to cover the straw with netting so that it doesn't blow away. By springtime, the straw can serve as a mulch and could be worked into the soil as well. So in terms of water, again, you need to keep it really well moist during the summer season, and it would be a good idea to mulch as well. You want to make sure that your strawberry bed is in a pretty sunny location. 8 to 10 hours of full sun would be best. However, there are some varieties that could do well with less sun. So I've heard of even 6 to 7 hours being acceptable. These are an amazing, versatile plant. Okay, I hope that was a helpful video, and please, if you have any questions, feel free to post in the comments, and if you enjoyed the video, please like and subscribe. Thank you.